Hello, and a heartfelt welcome to Audiobook Haven, your home for life-changing self-help audiobooks. We're thrilled to have you here as we unveil Effortless Growth, Design Your Future Success System. This powerful audiobook is your guide to unlocking personal growth with ease, offering practical strategies to craft a success mindset and build systems that propel you toward your dream life. Get ready to discover how to design a future filled with purpose, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. At Audiobook Haven, we're passionate about empowering you to transform your life, and this audiobook is your next step. If you're inspired, hit that like button, subscribe, and join our community for more motivational audiobooks. Now, settle in, and let's begin your journey to effortless growth. Introduction: The Myth of Effort. Take a moment and think back to the last time you set a big goal. Perhaps it was starting a business, losing weight, writing a book, or leveling up your career. How did it feel in the beginning? Exciting, energizing, full of potential. And then, the excitement fades. The grind begins. The daily effort feels heavier than expected. The willpower dwindles. Soon, frustration sets in. Many give up entirely, not because they lack ability, but because they are relying on the wrong approach. We've been sold a powerful cultural myth. Success requires relentless effort. Hustle harder. Grind longer. Push through. The truth is, hustle may produce short bursts of progress, but it rarely creates sustainable, long-term growth. So many people burn out, feel overwhelmed, or simply get stuck. Not because they're weak, but because they're human. In reality, the most successful people don't rely on superhuman discipline. They rely on well-designed systems. Growth doesn't have to feel heavy. What if you could wake up each morning knowing that your progress is already in motion? What if your habits, environment, mindset, and systems were automatically moving you closer to your goals with far less friction? That is what I call effortless growth. Effortless growth isn't about doing less. It's about removing unnecessary resistance. It's about designing your personal success system, one that quietly works in the background, steadily compounding your actions, habits, and results over time. When growth becomes effortless, you no longer wake up dreading the work ahead. You move through life aligned, intentional, and energized, not because you're forcing yourself, but because your system is carrying much of the weight. The shift from force to design. This book isn't about magical shortcuts or wishful thinking. It's about engineering your environment, habits, mindset, and routines so that success flows naturally. Not in spite of who you are, but because it is integrated with who you are. You will learn how to replace willpower with structure, how to design daily systems that naturally build momentum, how to adjust and improve your systems as your life evolves, how to build resilience into your system so setbacks don't derail you, how to create a self-renewing flywheel of personal and professional growth, a blueprint you can customize. You'll notice that this book is structured like a system itself. Part 1 lays the foundation for your effortless growth mindset. Part 2 walks you step by step through designing your own success system. Part 3 focuses on sustaining and elevating your system for the long run. Along the way, I'll share science-backed principles, real-world examples, actionable exercises, and reflection prompts. You'll finish with a complete blueprint you can adapt and evolve for the rest of your life. The journey ahead. Effortless growth is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's not about control. It's about design. It's not about nonstop work. It's about smart, sustainable systems. By the end of this book, you won't just have new knowledge. You'll have built your own future success system. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Effortless Growth Mindset. If you want to change your life, you need to start by changing how you think about growth. Most people approach personal growth like climbing a mountain. They believe it requires sheer strength, constant effort, and endless discipline. The bigger the goal, the harder they believe they must push. If they struggle, they assume they simply need to try harder. But that's where many get stuck. Growth doesn't have to feel like a constant uphill battle. It doesn't have to drain your energy or leave you exhausted. In fact, when done right, growth can feel almost natural, like something that pulls you forward instead of something you constantly have to push. This chapter is about shifting your mindset so you can begin to experience growth in a new way. A way that feels sustainable, enjoyable, and deeply fulfilling. Growth is a process, not an event. One of the biggest misconceptions about success is that it comes from a few big moments. We imagine the big break, the life-changing opportunity, or the massive leap forward. In reality, most growth happens in small, almost invisible steps that build up over time. Think about how plants grow. You don't see the tiny changes every day, but over weeks and months, the growth becomes obvious. The same is true for your personal and professional growth. When you adopt the mindset that growth is a process, you stop looking for overnight success. You stop expecting instant results. Instead, you focus on steady progress, knowing that every small step counts. This mindset shift is powerful. It removes the pressure to be perfect right away. It allows you to focus on consistency instead of intensity, and it makes the journey much more enjoyable. Let go of all or nothing thinking. One of the most common traps people fall into is the idea that if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. You plan to go to the gym 5 times a week. You miss a day? Suddenly, you feel like you failed, so you skip the rest of the week. Or you start a new habit, miss a few days, and tell yourself you're terrible at sticking to routines. This kind of all-or-nothing thinking kills growth. The truth is, missing a day doesn't matter nearly as much as what you do next. Growth is about returning to your system, even after you fall off track. It's about progress, not perfection. Consistency, not perfection, is where real growth lives. Your identity shapes your growth. At the core of the effortless growth mindset is the idea that who you believe you are shapes what you do. If you see yourself as someone who is bad at staying consistent, you will act in ways that confirm that belief. If you see yourself as someone who never finishes what they start, you will find reasons to quit. But if you start to see yourself as someone who is always learning, improving, and building systems that support your growth, your actions begin to follow that identity. You are not trying to force change. You are simply living out who you believe you are. This is why identity-based growth is so powerful. You're not just building habits. You're building a new version of yourself, one choice at a time. Focus on what you can control. Many people waste a lot of energy worrying about things outside their control. They obsess over what others think, unpredictable market changes, or past mistakes they can't undo. Effortless growth happens when you focus on the things you can control. You can't control whether an opportunity shows up tomorrow, but you can control how you prepare today. You can't control how fast you see results, but you can control the systems you build and the actions you take each day. When you bring your attention back to what you can control, you feel more grounded. You feel less anxious. You stay focused on your process. And over time, that steady process delivers the results you want. Growth feels better when you enjoy the process. Here's a truth that many people miss. You are much more likely to stick with something when you actually enjoy doing it. If your growth system feels like punishment, you will eventually burn out. But if you design your routines and habits to feel rewarding, you will naturally want to keep going. This doesn't mean every step will be easy. Some parts of growth will challenge you. But even those challenges can feel satisfying when you see them as part of the process. Find ways to make your systems enjoyable. Celebrate small wins. Track your progress. Build routines that fit your life instead of fighting against it. When you enjoy the process, you no longer have to force yourself to grow. You simply keep moving forward because it feels good to do so. The mindset in action. Let's recap what the effortless growth mindset looks like. You see growth as a steady process, not a single event. You let go of perfection and focus on consistency. You build your identity around being someone who grows. You focus on what you can control. You design systems that feel enjoyable and rewarding. This mindset is the foundation for everything else we will cover in this book. Without it, even the best system will eventually feel like a struggle. With it, your growth becomes smoother, more sustainable, and far more fulfilling. In the next chapter, we will begin building the system that supports this mindset. You will learn how to replace willpower with structure so your growth happens more naturally every single day. Chapter 2. The Power of Systems Over Willpower. For most of us, the way we've been taught to achieve success looks something like this. Set a goal. Get motivated. Push yourself. Stay disciplined. Try harder when you feel tired. In other words, depend on willpower. At first, this approach feels doable. You're excited, fired up, and full of energy. You feel ready to tackle anything. But sooner or later, life gets in the way. Work gets busy. You feel exhausted. Unexpected problems pop up. Suddenly, the motivation fades, and sticking to your goal feels much harder. This is where most people start blaming themselves. They say things like, "I just need more discipline. I'm too lazy. I don't want it badly enough." The problem isn't you. The problem is the approach. Relying on willpower alone is like trying to drive a car with no fuel. You might move for a while, but you'll eventually stall. That's because willpower is a limited resource. What works better is something far more reliable. You need a system. What is a system? A system is a set of routines, habits, structures, and processes that support your growth automatically. Think of a system like a machine you build for your life. Once it's set up, it keeps running even when your motivation dips. It helps you keep making progress without having to think so hard or constantly push yourself. For example, instead of trying to eat healthier by sheer willpower, you create a meal prep routine every Sunday. Instead of forcing yourself to work out more, you schedule workouts into your calendar and make it part of your weekly routine. Instead of trying to stay focused at work, you set up your workspace to limit distractions and block time for your most important tasks. Systems create structure. They guide your behavior. And most importantly, they remove the need to constantly make tough decisions throughout the day. Why willpower is not enough. Researchers have studied willpower for years. What they found is that willpower works a lot like a muscle. It can get tired. The more decisions you have to make, the more your willpower wears down. This is called decision fatigue. The more choices you make during the day, the harder it becomes to make good ones as time goes on. That's why you might eat well all day, but by evening, you're suddenly craving junk food. Or why you can power through work in the morning, but by the afternoon, your focus disappears. Systems help you avoid this problem by taking decisions off your plate. You don't have to decide what to eat because your meals are already planned. You don't have to decide when to exercise because your workout is scheduled. You don't have to figure out how to stay focused because your workspace is designed to support concentration. When you build systems, you free up your willpower for when you truly need it. Systems make growth predictable. One of the most powerful things about systems is that they make your results more predictable. If you rely on willpower, your results will swing depending on how motivated you feel that day. But if you have a system, you stay consistent, even on days when you don't feel at your best. For example, an author with a writing system might write 500 words every morning at 7 a.m. Even if they don't feel particularly inspired, they sit down and write. Over weeks and months, those small sessions add up to full books. Compare that to someone who writes only when they feel inspired. That person may write a lot some days and nothing for weeks. The difference in output becomes huge over time. Systems protect you from inconsistency. They give you a steady path forward. Systems remove emotion from the process. Another reason systems are powerful is because they take emotions out of the moment. When you rely on willpower, every day becomes a mental battle. Do I feel like working out today? Should I start that project now or later? Am I motivated enough to eat healthy today? With a system, you don't waste energy debating. You follow the plan. You trust the process. You stop having so many internal conversations about what you feel like doing. This is not about being robotic. It's about removing unnecessary friction, so you can use your mental energy for the things that truly matter. The power of tiny systems. Many people think systems need to be complicated to be effective. That's not true. Some of the best systems are incredibly simple. In fact, the simpler your system, the more likely you are to stick with it. Here are a few small examples. The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Habit stacking. Attach a new habit to an existing one. For example, after you brush your teeth, you meditate for 2 minutes. Morning setup. Spend 5 minutes each evening laying out what you need for tomorrow's task. These tiny systems reduce resistance. They help you stay consistent without feeling overwhelmed. Systems adapt as you grow. One of the best parts about systems is that they are flexible. As your life changes, your systems can evolve with you. When you're busy, your system may simplify. When you have more time and energy, you can expand it. The key is that your system is always working in the background, guiding your actions without relying on you to try harder every single day. Effortless growth isn't about locking yourself into rigid routines forever. It's about building structures that support your success today, while giving you room to adjust as you grow. Start thinking like a system builder. Here's the simple truth. Successful people are not necessarily more disciplined than others. They are simply better at building systems that make good behavior automatic. As you move forward in this book, I want you to start thinking like a system builder. Ask yourself, how can I make this easier to do every day? What routines or structures can support me? How can I remove friction from this process? The more you build supportive systems, the less you will need to fight your own motivation. You will no longer depend on willpower because your environment, routines, and habits will do much of the work for you. In the next chapter, we will go even deeper. You will start to design your personal growth philosophy and create the blueprint that will guide your future success. Let's build it together. Chapter 3. Designing your personal growth philosophy. Now that you understand why systems are more powerful than willpower, it's time to take the next important step. Before you start building your system, you need something to guide it. That something is your personal growth philosophy. Think of your growth philosophy as the foundation for everything you do. It is your personal set of beliefs, values, and principles that shape how you grow. It helps you make better decisions, stay aligned with what matters to you, and avoid getting pulled in 100 directions. Without a clear growth philosophy, it's easy to chase goals that don't really fit you. You might work hard, stay busy, and even achieve things that look impressive on the outside, but deep down, they don't feel fulfilling. This is what leads many people to burn out or feel lost, even after achieving success. Your growth philosophy helps you grow in the right direction for you. Start with your why. The first place to start is by asking yourself a simple but powerful question. Why do I want to grow? Your answer might be different from someone else's, and that's okay. Growth is personal. Some people want to grow to provide a better life for their family. Others want to reach their full potential, make an impact, or experience new challenges. Take some time to reflect on your why. Write it down. Don't worry about making it perfect. The goal is to get clear on what truly drives you. When your system is connected to a purpose that matters to you, it becomes much easier to stay motivated, even when things get tough. Define what success means to you. Next, it's important to define success on your own terms. Too many people adopt someone else's definition of success without thinking about whether it actually fits their values or lifestyle. Ask yourself, what does a successful life look like for me? How do I want to feel every day? What kind of work, relationships, and experiences matter most to me? What am I willing to sacrifice, and what am I not willing to sacrifice? Success doesn't have to mean being the richest, the most famous, or the busiest. For some people, success is having freedom. For others, it's about growth, contribution, or balance. The important thing is that it feels meaningful to you. When you define success for yourself, you stop chasing things that don't serve you. You stop comparing yourself to others. You focus your energy on building a life that actually feels good to live. Align your goals with your values. Once you have a sense of your why and your definition of success, it's time to make sure your goals are aligned with your values. For example, let's say one of your core values is health. If that's true, then building a business that demands you work 90 hours a week with no time for sleep or exercise would conflict with your values. Even if the business succeeds, you will feel out of alignment. When your goals match your values, your system becomes much easier to follow. You no longer feel like you are constantly forcing yourself to do things that feel wrong or draining. Values act like a compass. They keep you pointed in the right direction, even when life gets busy or complicated. Avoid the trap of shiny goals. One of the biggest dangers in personal growth is getting distracted by shiny goals. These are goals that sound impressive or exciting but aren't actually meaningful to you. For example, you might feel pressure to earn a certain amount of money, gain a big following online, or achieve a certain status because you see others doing it. Shiny goals can pull you off track. They take your focus away from what really matters. That's why your personal growth philosophy is so important. It helps you filter out these distractions and stay grounded in your own path. Whenever you set a new goal, ask yourself, is this goal connected to my values, or am I chasing it just because it looks good on paper? The more honest you are with yourself, the stronger your system will be. Accept that growth is a lifelong journey. Many people treat personal growth like a project with a finish line. They think, if I just achieve this one thing, then I'll be done. But real growth doesn't work that way. Growth is a lifelong journey. You will continue to learn, evolve, and adapt as your life changes. That's why your personal growth philosophy should give you room to grow and change too. What matters most to you today may not be the same 10 years from now, and that's perfectly okay. When you see growth as a lifelong journey, you no longer feel pressure to have everything figured out right away. You focus on building good systems, learning as you go, and trusting that consistent progress will get you where you want to be. Create your growth philosophy statement. To wrap up this chapter, I encourage you to write a simple personal growth philosophy statement. It doesn't need to be long or complicated. Just a few sentences that remind you of why you want to grow, what success means to you, what values will guide you, How you plan to approach growth. Here's a simple example. I believe in growing steadily by focusing on what matters most to me. My success is measured by my ability to learn, stay healthy, build meaningful relationships, and create work I'm proud of. I will design systems that support my growth while allowing me to enjoy the journey. This statement is like your personal guide. You can return to it whenever you feel uncertain or tempted to chase goals that don't align with your true purpose. Moving forward. Now that you've designed your personal growth philosophy, you're ready to start building the actual system that will support it. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the practical steps of habit architecture. You'll learn how to create simple, powerful habits that drive your growth automatically. Chapter 4. Habit Architecture, Small Wins, Big Gains. By now, you've built a strong foundation. You've shifted your mindset. You understand the power of systems. You've created your personal growth philosophy. Now it's time to build the engine that powers your system, your habits. Habits are where real change happens. They may seem small and simple, but over time, they quietly stack up to create massive results. In fact, your life right now is largely the result of your current habits. The things you do daily, often without even thinking about them, shape your health, your career, your relationships, and your happiness. The good news is that you don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You only need to focus on building small, consistent habits that line up with your bigger goals. Over time, these small wins turn into big gains. Why small is powerful? When people think about changing their lives, they often imagine making huge, dramatic changes. They tell themselves things like, I'm going to work out every single day for an hour. I'm going to completely change my diet starting Monday. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day from now on. The problem is that big changes are hard to sustain. They take a lot of energy, discipline, and willpower, which, as we already know, can quickly wear out. Small habits, on the other hand, are much easier to stick with. They slip into your daily routine without feeling overwhelming. They require less motivation. And because they are easier to repeat, they create consistency, which is where real growth happens. A 5-minute workout may not feel like much today, but 5 minutes, repeated consistently, turns into hours of exercise over the course of a year. That's the power of small wins. The compound effect of habits. Here's something important to understand. Habits compound. Just like money grows with compound interest, your habits grow with repetition. The effects may feel invisible at first, but over time, small actions create massive changes. Consider two people who each improve by just 1% every day. At first, there's almost no visible difference between them. But after a year, the person improving by 1% daily is nearly 37 times better than where they started. This is why building small habits matters so much. They might feel insignificant today, but they are building the foundation for who you become tomorrow. Focus on identity-based habits. Earlier, we talked about how your identity shapes your growth. Habits are one of the best tools to strengthen your identity. Instead of setting habits based only on outcomes, start thinking in terms of identity. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? What kind of person would naturally achieve my goals? For example, instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, you say, I am the kind of person who takes care of my body. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, you say, I am a writer who writes every day. When you focus on who you're becoming, every small habit reinforces that identity. Each healthy meal, each writing session, each workout becomes proof that you are living as the person you want to be. The more evidence you collect, the stronger your identity becomes. And as your identity strengthens, sticking to your habits feels more natural. Make habits obvious, easy, and satisfying. Let's talk about how to design habits that stick. There are a few simple principles you can follow to set yourself up for success. 1. Make it obvious. Set clear triggers for your habits. If you want to build a reading habit, leave a book on your pillow. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. The easier it is to see the habit cue, the more likely you are to follow through. 2. Make it easy. Start with a version of the habit that feels almost too easy. Want to start meditating? Begin with just 1 minute. Want to start exercising? Start with 5 push-ups. The goal is to make starting so easy that you can't talk yourself out of it. 3. Make it satisfying. Build in a small reward or sense of satisfaction right after the habit. You might track your progress on a calendar, check off a box, or simply take a moment to feel proud of completing it. When your brain associates the habit with positive feelings, you'll want to keep repeating it. Use habit stacking. Habit stacking is a simple trick to help you build new habits by attaching them to something you already do. The formula is, after I current habit, I will new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will do 1 minute of breathing exercises. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. After I finish lunch, I will take a 10-minute walk. By anchoring new habits to existing ones, you create a natural rhythm that fits into your day without feeling forced. Expect imperfection. No system or habit will be perfect. Life happens. You will miss days. You will have setbacks. That's normal. The key is not to aim for perfection, but for consistency over time. If you miss one day, it's not a failure. The problem only comes when one missed day turns into a missed week or a missed month. Focus on getting back on track quickly and don't let a slip become a slide. The real secret to long-term growth isn't doing your habits perfectly. It's learning how to get back into your system as soon as possible after a break. Your habit architecture is your growth engine. Think of your habits as the building blocks of your success system. Each small habit supports your larger goals. Each repetition moves you a step closer to the person you want to become. The beauty of habit architecture is that you don't need dramatic motivation or endless discipline. You need small, steady actions that build on each other over time. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to design your environment so it supports your habits and makes growth even easier. When your surroundings help you succeed, your habits feel almost automatic. Chapter 5. Environment Design. Set the stage for success. By now, you've learned how your mindset, systems, philosophy, and habits all work together to fuel your growth. You're starting to see that real change doesn't happen because you force yourself to do hard things every day. It happens because you build a life where good choices feel natural. One of the most powerful ways to make growth feel effortless is to design your environment to support your habits. Your environment can either work with you or against you. The good news is, you have far more control over it than you might think. In this chapter, we're going to look at how you can shape your surroundings to make success the default option. Why environment matters so much. Most people try to change their behavior by focusing only on willpower or motivation. But the truth is, your surroundings play a huge role in shaping what you do. Think about it. If junk food is sitting on your kitchen counter, you're far more likely to grab a snack. If your phone is sitting right next to you while you work, you're more likely to check it. If your running shoes are by the door, it's easier to go for a walk or jog. You don't always make decisions based on long, careful thought. Much of what you do is influenced by what's right in front of you. That's why changing your environment can lead to massive changes in your behavior, often without you even noticing it. Make good habits easy to start. The first goal of environment design is to make your good habits as easy to start as possible. If you want to read more, keep a book next to your bed or on your desk. If you want to eat healthier, fill your fridge with prepped fruits, veggies, and meals. If you want to exercise, keep your workout clothes and gear easily accessible. The fewer steps between you and the habit, the more likely you are to do it. Remove friction wherever you can. For example, let's say you want to start journaling in the morning. You could leave your journal and pen on your nightstand so it's the first thing you see when you wake up. You've made it almost automatic to pick up the journal and write. Make bad habits harder. Just like you want to make good habits easy, you want to make bad habits harder. If you want to spend less time on your phone, put it in another room while you work. If you want to eat less junk food, don't keep it in the house. If you want to watch less TV, unplug it or remove the remote batteries. The harder it is to start a bad habit, the less likely you are to fall into it. This isn't about forcing yourself to have more discipline. It's about removing temptation before it becomes a decision. Control the cues. Cues are triggers that start a habit. Your environment is full of them, whether you realize it or not. For example, the sight of your couch might trigger watching TV. The smell of coffee might trigger checking your email. A notification sound might trigger checking social media. By becoming aware of the cues in your environment, you can start to adjust them to support better habits. Want to write more? Set your laptop to open your writing app automatically. Want to drink more water? Keep a full water bottle on your desk. Want to meditate? Place your meditation cushion where you can't miss it. You're not just reacting to your environment, you're shaping it to serve you. Build habit zones. One simple trick is to create specific areas for different activities. A corner of your home for reading. A clean, organized desk for focused work. A clutter-free kitchen for healthy meal prep. a space for workouts, even if it's just a yoga mat in your living room. When your brain associates certain spaces with certain actions, it's easier to slip into the right mindset. You walk into your reading corner, and your brain knows it's time to relax and read. You sit at your work desk, and your brain knows it's time to focus. Clear physical boundaries help reinforce mental ones. Surround yourself with the right people. Your environment isn't just physical stuff, it's also the people you spend time with. The people around you have a huge influence on your habits, whether you realize it or not. If you spend time with people who value health, you're more likely to stay active. If your friends are growth-minded, you're more likely to push yourself. If your coworkers are focused and disciplined, you may naturally adopt the same work habits. You don't have to cut people out of your life to grow, but you can choose to spend more time with people who share the kind of values and behaviors you want to adopt. Positive peer pressure works in your favor. Audit and adjust your environment regularly. As your goals and habits change, your environment may need to change too. Set aside time every few months to do a simple environment audit. What's helping me right now? What's getting in my way? Where can I remove friction? Where can I add helpful cues? Small adjustments can make a big difference. Sometimes, simply rearranging a few things in your workspace, kitchen, or bedroom can make your new habits feel easier and more natural. Your environment is your silent partner. Here's the real beauty of environment design. Once you set it up, it works quietly in the background. You no longer need to constantly think about making good choices because your surroundings are already nudging you in the right direction. You've created a world that supports your success. You don't need to be perfect. You just need an environment that helps you stay consistent. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to track your progress, stay accountable, and make adjustments as you grow. Because once you've set the stage, the next step is making sure you keep moving forward. Chapter 6: Feedback Loops and Adaptive Learning. You've put a lot of pieces in place so far. You've built systems. You've created habits. You've designed your environment to support your success. Now we come to one of the most important parts of long-term growth: learning how to adjust along the way. No system or habit you build will be perfect forever. Life changes. Your goals change. New challenges pop up. That's normal. What separates people who keep growing from those who get stuck is simple. They know how to listen to feedback and adapt. This chapter is all about learning how to create feedback loops, listen to what your system is telling you, and make small adjustments that keep you moving forward. What is a feedback loop? A feedback loop is simply a way to get information about how you're doing, so you can make improvements. You already use feedback loops every day, even if you don't think about it. If you're cooking and you taste the food, you adjust the seasoning. If you're driving and see traffic ahead, you take a different route. If you exercise and feel pain, you slow down or change your form. The same principle applies to your personal growth. You try something, observe what happens, and adjust based on what you learn. This is how you turn effort into progress, even when things don't go exactly as planned. Avoiding the all-or-nothing trap. Many people give up on their habits or goals because they expect perfection. The moment something doesn't go as planned, they feel like they've failed. They miss a few workouts and decide to quit. They break their diet once and feel like it's ruined. They lose focus at work and think their system doesn't work. But growth isn't about being perfect. It's about paying attention, learning, and making small adjustments. That's where feedback loops help. When you view everything as data, not failure, you stay calm and keep improving. Build simple feedback loops. You don't need complicated tools to set up useful feedback loops. Here are a few simple ways to start. 1. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, take a minute or two to ask, what went well today? What didn't go as planned? What small change can I try tomorrow? Writing this down in a journal or even a simple note app can give you powerful insights over time. 2. Weekly check-ins. Once a week, do a slightly deeper review. Are my habits still working for me? Is my environment helping or hurting? Have my priorities shifted? What one thing can I improve next week? Weekly check-ins help you spot patterns and adjust before small issues become big ones. 3. Use data when helpful. For some habits, simple tracking can provide useful data. How many workouts did I complete this week? How many pages did I write? How many days did I follow my meal plan? You don't need to obsess over numbers. Just use them as gentle indicators to see if you're staying consistent. The power of tiny adjustments. Often, you don't need big changes to get back on track. A tiny adjustment can have a huge effect over time. For example, if your morning routine feels rushed, waking up just 15 minutes earlier may solve it. If your workouts feel too hard, lowering the intensity slightly might keep you consistent. If you're procrastinating on a project, breaking it into smaller steps can help you get started. Small tweaks create big momentum. Think of your system like a course correction on an airplane. You don't need to turn the plane around. You just need tiny adjustments to stay on course. Stay curious, not judgmental. One of the best mindsets for feedback loops is curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why can't I stick to this?" ask, "What is making this hard right now?" Instead of saying, "I'm failing," ask, "What can I learn from this?" When you approach your growth with curiosity, you turn challenges into opportunities. You stop judging yourself and start problem solving. This simple shift helps you stay motivated and resilient. Adaptive learning, the key to long-term success. Feedback loops feed into what I call adaptive learning. This simply means you keep learning as you grow. You adjust your system as your life changes. You experiment with new approaches when something stops working. You let your system evolve with you. Adaptive learning keeps your growth system alive. It prevents you from getting stuck in routines that no longer fit your goals. For example, when you're younger, your system might focus on learning new skills. When you're building a family, your system might shift toward balance and time management. As your career grows, your system might focus on leadership and impact. Your system isn't a rigid plan. It's a living, breathing process that grows with you. Progress, not perfection. At the end of the day, growth is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about staying in the game. It's about showing up, paying attention, and making small adjustments. When you master feedback loops and adaptive learning, you give yourself the freedom to grow without the pressure of perfection. You're not locked into one way of doing things. You're building a system that serves you, no matter where life takes you. Next, staying consistent for the long run. Now that you understand how to adapt and adjust, we'll turn our attention to one of the biggest challenges in personal growth, staying consistent over the long run. Because real success isn't built in weeks or months. It's built by showing up year after year, even when motivation fades. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to manage setback. Chapter 7, The Resilience Engine, Managing Setbacks. If you're serious about long-term growth, one thing is guaranteed: you will face setbacks. Things won't always go as planned. You'll stumble, make mistakes, lose momentum, and sometimes feel like you're back at square one. That's not failure. That's life. The people who succeed aren't the ones who avoid setbacks. They're the ones who know how to handle them, recover, and keep moving forward. They've built what I call a resilience engine, a system that helps them bounce back when things get tough. In this chapter, we'll talk about how you can build your own resilience engine and turn setbacks into fuel for even greater growth. Expect setbacks, don't fear them. First, let's change how we think about setbacks. A lot of people see them as signs that they're failing or that their system isn't working. The truth is, setbacks are part of the process. You'll miss workouts. You'll fall out of good routines. You'll face personal or professional challenges. You'll get frustrated or discouraged. None of this means you're broken or incapable. It simply means you're human. When you expect setbacks, you stop fearing them. Instead of feeling crushed, you can say to yourself, this is one of those bumps I knew would happen. Let's handle it. Separate the event from the story. One of the biggest traps people fall into during a setback is creating a story around it. I missed a week at the gym. I'll never get in shape. I fell behind on my project. I'm terrible at this. I broke my habit streak. I'll never be consistent. The event is neutral. You missed a workout, fell behind, or broke a streak. The story you tell yourself is what makes it feel overwhelming. When you catch yourself spiraling into a negative story, pause and separate the event from the story. Instead, say, I missed a workout. That's all. I can get back on track tomorrow. I fell behind. Let's make a plan to catch up. This small mental shift keeps you from turning a temporary setback into a permanent defeat. Focus on the next action. When things go wrong, your mind wants to jump to big fixes. I need to redo my whole routine. I need a brand new system. I have to make up for lost time. That thinking often leads to overwhelm, which makes it even harder to take action. Instead, focus on one simple question. What's the next small step I can take? One short workout, one healthy meal, one focused work session, one good night's sleep. Small steps rebuild momentum. They remind you that you're still in control, even when things feel messy. Normalize imperfection. One of the most freeing ideas in personal growth is this. You can grow without being perfect. You don't need perfect streaks, perfect habits, or perfect motivation. What you need is the ability to keep showing up after things go wrong. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. When you release the pressure to do it all right, you create space to grow consistently, even through setbacks. Use setbacks as data. Every setback contains valuable information. Why did I lose momentum? What triggered me to stop? Where can I adjust my system to make it easier? Maybe your goal was too ambitious. Maybe your routine didn't fit your current schedule. Maybe your environment made bad habits too tempting. Instead of beating yourself up, get curious. Use the setback as feedback to refine your system. Growth is a process of constant learning, not a straight line. Build emotional safety nets. Setbacks often trigger strong emotions: frustration, guilt, shame, disappointment. Left unchecked, these emotions can make you want to give up. That's why it helps to have emotional safety nets in place. A friend or mentor you can talk to. A simple journal to vent your thoughts. Reminders of past times you bounced back. Sometimes, just hearing someone say, "It's okay, you've got this," is enough to steady you. The goal isn't to avoid difficult emotions, but to move through them without getting stuck. Recommit, don't restart. When you recover from a setback, you don't need to start over. You're not back at zero. You've already learned, grown, and made progress. Instead of thinking, "I have to start all over again," say, "I'm recommitting. I'm picking up where I left off." This mindset keeps you connected to your long-term journey. Setbacks become temporary pauses, not restarts. Strength grows through struggle. Every time you recover from a setback, you build resilience. You're training yourself to handle difficulty with grace. You're learning how to adapt, adjust, and keep moving. This is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. In fact, your ability to handle setbacks may be even more important than your ability to stick to a plan perfectly. Because life will always throw curveballs. The people who keep growing are the ones who know how to catch their breath, steady themselves, and take the next step forward. Next, the effortless growth mindset. Now that you know how to manage setbacks and keep going, we'll bring everything together. In the next chapter, we'll explore the effortless growth mindset, the way of thinking that allows you to build success naturally, without burning out or forcing yourself. Chapter 8, the growth flywheel, creating self-renewing momentum. You've made it far. By now, you've learned how to build systems, design your habits, shape your environment, adapt through feedback, stay consistent, and bounce back from setbacks. What you've really been doing this whole time is building something even bigger: momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth. When you have it, everything feels easier. When you lose it, everything feels harder. In this chapter, we'll talk about how to create your own growth flywheel. A system that feeds itself, builds energy over time, and keeps you moving forward with less struggle. What is a flywheel? Think of a flywheel like a heavy spinning wheel. At first, it's hard to get it moving. You have to push, and it barely turns. But as you keep pushing, it starts spinning faster and faster. Eventually, the wheel's own momentum keeps it turning with very little extra effort. That's exactly how long-term growth works. At first, building new habits and systems takes effort. You're learning, experimenting, and adjusting. But over time, your actions start feeding into each other. Small wins lead to bigger wins. Progress fuels motivation. Good habits stack up. Before long, your system starts running itself. You're not forcing growth anymore. You're being pulled forward by the momentum you've created. The 4 parts of your growth flywheel. Let's break down the core pieces of your growth flywheel. Each one feeds into the next, creating a cycle that builds on itself. 1. Action. It always starts with action. You take a small step, start a habit, build a system, design your environment. Even if it feels small, every action matters. Action creates movement. 2. Progress. When you take action consistently, you start seeing progress. Maybe it's a few pounds lost, a skill learned, a habit streak built, or a small career win. Progress feels good. It's proof that your efforts are paying off. 3. Motivation. Progress naturally creates motivation. When you see results, you want to keep going. You start to believe, "I can do this." Motivation gives you the energy to take more action. 4. Confidence. As you keep taking action, making progress, and feeling motivated, something even more powerful grows: confidence. Confidence is what allows you to face bigger challenges, try new things, and handle setbacks without giving up. It reinforces your identity. I am someone who grows. I can handle this. And with confidence, you're ready to take more action, starting the flywheel all over again. Why this feels effortless over time. In the beginning, growth feels like pushing a boulder uphill. You're building systems, learning new habits, adjusting your mindset. It takes energy and attention. But once your flywheel starts spinning, much of that effort shifts into momentum. Your environment is set up. Your habits are automatic. Your systems run smoothly. You no longer need to force growth. You just keep feeding the flywheel with small, steady actions. This is what people mean when they say growth feels effortless. It's not that you're not working. It's that your work is being multiplied by the systems you've built. Protecting the flywheel. While momentum is powerful, it can also be fragile if you don't protect it. Here are a few ways to keep your flywheel spinning. Don't neglect the small actions. Even tiny steps keep momentum alive. Stay connected to your identity. Remind yourself who you're becoming. Watch for friction. Adjust your systems when life changes. Handle setbacks quickly. Don't let small slips turn into long stalls. The more you protect your flywheel, the longer it stays in motion. Growth without burnout. The beauty of the flywheel is that it helps you avoid burnout. You don't have to constantly push yourself with willpower or huge bursts of motivation. Instead, your systems, habits, and environment do much of the heavy lifting. You're not starting from zero every day. You're being carried forward by your own momentum. That's sustainable. That's how you keep growing year after year without exhausting yourself. Growth compounds over time. Here's where it gets even better. The longer your flywheel spins, the more your growth compounds. A skill you practiced for months becomes something you can do naturally. A habit you struggled with becomes part of who you are. Small wins add up to big changes in your career, health, relationships, and life. Compounding growth isn't always flashy in the moment, but over years, it creates results that feel almost magical. You've built your system. If you followed along through this book, you've already started building your growth flywheel. You've built systems that make action easier. You've designed habits that stick. You've created an environment that supports you. You've learned how to adapt through feedback. You've built resilience to handle setbacks. You've learned how to stay consistent for the long run. All of these pieces work together to create self-renewing momentum. Your job now is simple. Keep feeding the flywheel. Small steps, steady actions, consistent adjustments, joyful learning. That's how effortless growth happens. Conclusion: your future, by design. Growth isn't something that just happens to lucky people. It's something you design. By building your future success system, you've taken control of your own growth. You don't need to rely on motivation or willpower. You have a system that works with you, not against you. And as your flywheel spins, you'll find that growth feels easier, more natural, and more rewarding than you ever imagined. You're not just growing. You're becoming the kind of person who grows for life. Keep going. Your future is waiting. Chapter 9. Living in your growth zone. By now, you've built a system that helps you grow with less stress, less struggle, and more momentum. You've learned how to create habits, design your environment, adapt through feedback, stay consistent, bounce back from setbacks, and build your growth flywheel. Now it's time to talk about where all of this leads, your growth zone. The growth zone is that sweet spot where you're constantly improving, but not constantly overwhelmed. You're being challenged enough to keep growing, but not so much that you feel like you're drowning. It's a place where growth feels good. It feels exciting. It feels sustainable. In this chapter, we'll talk about how to recognize your growth zone, how to stay in it, and how to enjoy the process of lifelong growth. The comfort zone versus the panic zone. Before we talk about the growth zone, let's quickly cover its two neighbors, the comfort zone and the panic zone. Comfort zone. This is where everything feels safe, but nothing really changes. You're not being challenged, but you're not improving either. Life is easy, but you're coasting. Panic zone. This is where the challenge is too big. You feel anxious, overwhelmed, or frozen. Instead of growing, you shut down or burn out. Your growth zone lives right between these two places. You're being stretched, but not snapped. You're learning new things, but still feel in control. You're outside your comfort zone, but not outside your ability to handle it. How to know you're in the growth zone. Here are some signs you're living in your growth zone. You feel challenged, but excited. You're learning new skills and ideas regularly. You're slightly uncomfortable, but not paralyzed. You're seeing steady progress over time. You feel proud of your growth, even when it's slow. You experience occasional setbacks, but you bounce back. The growth zone isn't about constant comfort or constant stress. It's about finding that balance where you're always growing, but not overwhelmed. Stretch, but don't snap. One of the keys to staying in your growth zone is learning how to stretch yourself just enough. Take on projects that are a bit bigger than you've done before. Learn skills that challenge you without completely confusing you. Set goals that push you, but still feel achievable with effort. Think of it like lifting weights. You don't lift something so light it does nothing. You don't lift something so heavy you hurt yourself. You find the weight that challenges your muscles, and as you get stronger, you gradually increase it. That's exactly how you grow in life too. Growth feels like work, but good work. It's important to be honest. Real growth requires work. You'll have days when you're tired. You'll have moments where you doubt yourself. You'll hit plateaus where progress feels slow. But when you're in your growth zone, even the hard work feels meaningful. You're building something. You're becoming someone stronger. You can see the payoff, even if it's not immediate. It's the kind of work that leaves you feeling satisfied at the end of the day, even if you're a little tired. Avoiding growth plateaus. Even in the growth zone, you can sometimes get stuck. Maybe your system starts to feel too easy again. Maybe you've mastered your current challenges. That's when it's time to adjust. Here are a few ways to refresh your growth. Set a slightly bigger goal. Learn a new skill that supports your current path. Look for feedback from mentors, peers, or even yourself. Experiment with new routines or tools. Remember, growth is a cycle. As you master one level, you move to the next. Enjoy the process. One of the best parts of living in your growth zone is that you get to enjoy the journey. You're not frantically chasing success. You're not obsessing over perfection. You're not burning yourself out. You're simply showing up, taking steady action, learning, adjusting, and growing. When you learn to enjoy the process, you no longer need quick results to feel satisfied. You trust your system. You trust yourself. You know that progress will come. Growth becomes who you are. At this stage, growth is no longer something you do. It's part of who you are. You're a person who learns. You're a person who adapts. You're a person who improves. You're a person who keeps showing up. That's the real reward of effortless growth, not just reaching your goals, but becoming someone who naturally grows year after year. There is no finish line. One of the beautiful things about living in your growth zone is realizing that growth never really ends. You'll always find new challenges, new skills, and new areas to improve. You'll keep evolving as your life changes. And that's exciting, not exhausting. You're not racing to a finish line. You're building a life where growth feels natural, sustainable, and deeply fulfilling. Moving forward. As you move forward from here, remember this. Growth is a system. Progress comes from steady, simple action. Momentum builds over time. Setbacks are part of the journey. The real goal isn't perfection. It's continuous improvement. You've built your system. You've created your growth zone. Now it's time to live it. Keep showing up. Keep learning. Keep growing. Your future is in motion. Conclusion. Your Effortless Growth Action Plan. You've made it to the end. You've done more than just read a book. You've started designing your future. Let's take a moment to review where you've been, and more importantly, where you're headed, what you've built. Through these chapters, you've learned how to shift your focus from willpower to systems. Design small habits that lead to big gains. Build an environment that supports your success. Use feedback loops to constantly improve. Stay consistent for the long run. Handle setbacks with resilience. Create a flywheel that builds momentum over time. Live in your growth zone with balance and joy. You've created a foundation that allows you to grow steadily without forcing yourself or burning out. This isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong approach. This simple formula. If we had to boil this entire book down to one simple formula, it would be this. Small actions plus smart systems plus consistency plus adaptation equals effortless growth. That's it. No hacks, no magic. Just clear, steady progress, day after day. Your personal growth system. Now it's your turn to apply everything you've learned. Here's a simple action plan you can follow. 1. Pick one area to start. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose one area where you want to grow. Health, career, finances, relationships, skills, personal development. 2. Define your system. Ask yourself, what small daily or weekly actions will move me forward? How can I design my environment to make these actions easier? What triggers can I use to remind myself to take action? 3. Build your habit architecture. Start small. 5 minutes of reading, a short walk, one focused work session, 10 minutes of journaling, Focus on consistency over intensity. 4. Set up feedback loops. Decide how you'll track your progress. Journaling. Habit tracker. Regular check-ins. Monthly reviews. Look at your results and make small adjustments as needed. 5. Prepare for setbacks. Write down your plan for when things go off track. What's my minimum version of this habit? How will I reset if I miss a day? Who can I talk to for support? 6. Feed your flywheel. Keep the flywheel spinning. Take small actions daily. Celebrate progress. Use motivation to build confidence. Stay connected to your identity. 7. Stay in your growth zone. Stretch yourself without overwhelming yourself. Refresh your goals as you grow. Keep learning and experimenting. One step at a time. The key to effortless growth is not how fast you move, but that you keep moving. Take one small step today. Take another tomorrow. Adjust as you go. Trust the process. Over time, your small steps add up to something much bigger than you ever imagined. You are the designer of your future. Your future isn't something you have to wait for. It's something you create. You have the tools. You have the system. You have the mindset. Now it's time to live it. Keep growing. Keep showing up. Keep designing your future success system. Your best days are ahead of you. If you enjoyed listening to this audiobook, kindly give up a thumbs up, subscribe with our channel, and share the video. See you at the top.